Ladies and gentlemen, we're back live with our NFT Live Festival, and this is presented by PodFest Asia. My name is Wayne, and coming up, we have Rachel Lam, who hails from Hong Kong, and her art, especially with all this amazing photography and NFT artwork of Hong Kong and streets of Hong Kong and the neighborhoods as well, really captured my attention on Twitter and so many NFT marketplaces. So without further ado, let's welcome her to our virtual podcasting studio. How are you, Rachel? Sorry to keep you waiting.
I'm great. What about you?
I'm fantastic. I was feeling slightly unwell after doing all-day streaming and got a good rest, three hours in of napping time. So now I'm refreshed and all raring to go. You know, it's great to have you here. And we know that you are based in Hong Kong, right now?
Yes.
So over there it's 2:15 a.m., I think, just like Singapore.
12. Yeah. Same
So like
time.
all geniuses, right? Normally we sleep either really late, we're 9 hours, or we are really in the zone and able to do our best work really during late night sessions, right? Is that the same for you? Is that the reason why you're up this late as well?
Yeah. I always just work at late time, and somehow after I start NFT, it's even later because mostly my audience are in North America. So, so yeah.
100%. I think Clubhouse is also making everyone midnight zombies as well. Like we are all like living 24/7 because there's always someone that you can talk to or even to discuss your artwork with, right? At any time of the day.
Exactly.
I think technology has made the world so much smaller. So let's start with your story. We would love to hear how you got started and how the journey has been so far for you. So maybe take it away. You have 10 minutes to tell us about your journey story.
As in photography or NFTs?
Both.
Both. So,
Yeah.
actually, I started photography way longer before I jumped into NFT. So it all started when I was 17. I received this camera as a gift from my parents. So I just started to, take pictures around. I didn't take it as anything serious. Didn't expect it's gonna end up like how I am right now, selling prints, selling NFTs, and having such a broad audience from around the world. When I first got my camera, I just thought it's like a hobby after class, because over here in Hong Kong, high school is pretty stressed. So that's like an outlet for me, and it's also a tool for me to open up, art. Because I was actually studying science in the past. I know nothing about art, nothing at all. I was actually starting with the shooting in full auto mode, and I'm not ashamed of it. So yeah, and then just later on, at one point, I just started to meet more people in the photography community in Hong Kong, and then I just start shooting even more and more. And then my photos started to get even better. I started to learn, how to shoot like a photo in full manual mode, and seeing that my work constantly improves and meeting different friends, from around the world. Pre-COVID times, a lot of people travel to Hong Kong and take pictures in here. That's how I get to approach photographers from around the world. So yeah, I just noticed that, oh, how much I like to do this thing. So it just kind of seeing my photos improves kind of give me the courage to like, what about just let's start to do something about visuals, like visual art, digital photography, something related. And I was just thinking, since I kind of self-taught myself how to do photography, it doesn't seem like a smart move to, jump into it, like go on classes because I already know how to kind of operate it. So I decided to go on film school. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I just thought I'm good at taking photos, so why not make it, go on cinematography path, because I'm kind of constantly inspired by different cinematographers throughout my photography journey, including Wong Kar-wai's cinematographer. No, yeah, Christopher Doyle, and also Blade Runner, the features in there. So I was like, maybe I can, start a journey in film school because I love it. And it's like, it's not just only purely love looking at those beautiful image, but more of liking to make it, to take photos. So I was like, why not? So I went to film school. And then until a month ago, I just get to approach NFTs because I have friends who actually work in crypto, and I know nothing about anything about cryptocurrency and NFTs 2 months ago. Like, not at all. 2 months ago, I have no idea what it is, except I know that, well, I know what Bitcoin is, but not really what NFT is until my friend introduced to me. And I was pretty skeptical, honestly, because I have no any like previous knowledge about the crypto space at all. So not even saying how, the non-fungible token works. And then he was introducing to me, and then I was like, why not? Because I was actually in a financial crisis like a couple months ago. Some personal reasons, like my family. Some of my audience know that because I've been saying that, I've been sharing that online. So like, yeah, and then I'm kind of forced to support myself on my school and the tuition because of my time being an artist. I'm actually a full-time student in college, so I have to think of ways on doing my tuition. And then I thought, why not give it a try? So that's how I get into the NFT space. I didn't expect that my work would reach out to people from around the world and collectors from different places, mostly in the States, that would really appreciate my work because it really expanded my audience, and I'm really thankful about that one. And I think it's amazing. I think it's life changing, at least to me, because I'm not doing photography full time. I wish I could, but unfortunately, I'm not like at a point that I'm able to fit myself fully with this. Wow, it's not my full time job because my full time job is like a student. So that's kind of my journey right now, and I'm still doing it. It's been 2 months. Um, Instead, I'm actually approaching to like a new platform. It's called Hackl Nook. Nook. It's the Tesla platform. I'm constantly seeing new opportunity in the platform, and I'm open to anything. It doesn't have to be foundation. I started with Ethereum-based platforms, but yeah, constantly learning and approaching different people. And still learning. That's the stage that I'm on right now. The progress.
There's so much in what you just told us, from the people who influence you in your photography work, people like Wang Ka-fai, right? I think in Singapore it's affectionately known as Huang Jiahui, if I pronounce that
Yeah, yeah,
correctly.
yeah.
And of course, your work is so heavily, skewed towards the direction of a hybrid style. I think something that really caught my eye is that it's very experimental as well. It's inspired by all these cinematic greats that you just name dropped earlier. And your goal is to always document collective memories and even address social issues through your visual storytelling, right? And it's combined with your own narrative or your own personal journey as well. And you mentioned about how circumstances force you to be really creative and independent and entrepreneurial at the same time. So like the pandemic, for some it's actually a great thing to happen, even though no one is thrilled to see people dying, right? But during the pandemic, people has more time to do the things that they love and focus on making really great art as well during those time working from home, right? And with all this great technology that's available on our fingertips these days, NFT tag being one of them, Clubhouse being another, and of course all these great marketplaces that are all sprouting up. It enables independent artists like you to also make a decent, if not even better, living, especially for someone who is a student by profession. So I'm really enthralled by your story, and I understand this is not your first time dropping NFTs as well. So you mentioned that Nick is where we can also buy your NFTs, right? So what sets you apart from the other NFT projects that you think are projected in the metaverse?
Can you repeat the questions again?
What sets your NFT project apart from the others in the metaverse?
Oh, so what makes my work stands out,
100%.
basically. So yeah, um, basically, I think the work makes me stand out is because I didn't create because of NFT. I create like 4 years ahead before I jump into NFT. And in that 4 years, there wasn't anything that it wasn't anything because of making money that drives me to in creation. I create because I wanted to create. And obviously, like the time that I've jumped into NFT, it's basically equivalent to how much I've earned in the past 4 years just purely making art. Sometimes shooting in commercial events, sometimes selling my art prints, physical ones, once in a while. But I think what makes me stand out is I create. First thing is I'm creating not because of NFT. I'm a creator before I jump into NFT, and that's not going to change no matter how the trend's gonna go. And second thing is because of my experimental style. It makes me stand out, not even just as an NFT artist, but also as a photographer in general. People see my stuff, they will remember that it's my stuff, and I think I could proudly say that because I'm not my aim to make stuff, and the reason that I'm keep experimenting because there's one solid principle in my creation is I do not want to make anything that is genuine, not at all. And I want to make something that is different that the others cannot create. So I constantly test out different color palettes, different angles, and different style, a hybrid style of combining different things. And I test out and also my color palette doesn't define my work, which a lot of people usually would think because I have a really strong color, vibrant colors in my still photography work. But I think what defines my work is in general in style because I don't only work on digital photography. Instead, I actually make short film, painting, animation in different mediums, and all of them have like a same characteristic that shares in common. It's being artsy in the same way it's documenting a series of things that I'm concerned, and specifically on my digital photography, which the screen is sharing right now, it's actually part of my big neon collective project as a whole. And mostly it's like documenting the fading neon signs because as in recent years in Hong Kong government, because of regulations and because of safety reasons, they tear down a lot of neon signs that has been hanging there like for many years, for over the past decades. And I think it's a really iconic site that the neon glows. It identifies what Hong Kong is. It shows up in a lot of movies in the past, and I feel really sad about the tearing down of this iconic feature. That's why I try to document it in a special way, which I think I'm trying to do it, like in a more capturing, attention capturing look. At the same time, it's not losing my personal art style. And I'm also trying to document the daily lives of Hong Kong because a lot of people have, I wouldn't say misconception about this place, but I feel like a lot of traveling folks always trying to identify Hong Kong being the financial hub, but there's a lot of rustic side of it that is unknown to people that is non-local. It's actually not that fancy as I mean, of course there is this side, but there's also that side of the rustic of like, how the blue collar construction worker, people who's hardworking in general. And that's why I'm just trying to visual document stuff that I'm aware of and just to present it in a more personal way, that in vibrant colors that I like, that I enjoy making. Yeah.
I absolutely love your art. I think there's so much Hong Kong, identity from your work, right? I could literally smell the streets and neighborhood of Hong Kong when I scroll through your Instagram gallery, for example. And some of them, like this one, are you inspired by Christopher Nolan's Inception?
No, actually, not at all. Unfortunately. Instead, I think it's a combination of everything. Because when people ask me what my inspiration is, I don't really have a single source of it. Because me personally, I like every sort of art, like not only cinematography. Apparently, it's like what kind of like it seems to be what I'm doing. But I got constantly inspired by even sculpture and concrete sculpture that is like really modern and really industrial, and also from paintings and different things that inspires me. And from that location, this the photo that you were showing specifically, it was actually inspired by like how dense the building is. When I arrived there, I was like, wow, like my whole life living in there in Hong Kong, because I don't live in there. It's not like where I live, and I was really shocked in some way, like how dense it is. Like just from that terrace, there's like 100 flats in there, and it's kind of insane because I lived in the States too. I'm kind of half based in LA, so it's completely different. You know, from I know from the rest of the world, you won't see that place that, and also in one flat, there's like squeezed up with like a 7 people family, and that's all. That's like another topic. It's related to like the housing problem in Hong Kong. So I think it's not really inspired by Christopher Nolan's Inception. That's a really great movie, by the way. But it's just in general how I feel in that place, and I just wanted to exaggerate the density at its utmost. You know, like I want people just look at it and like, wow, that's crazy.
Looking at this work of yours, I miss Hong Kong so much. I used to go there like every 2 months, right? Because Singapore to Hong Kong, it's like a short flight, yeah. And
Yeah.
because of the pandemic, we are missing all these great locations and places that have so much memories for all of us, right? So you're able to capture, the identity, the architecture, the smell as well in your work. I think this is amazing, and I'm missing even Hong Kong 100 times now by looking at your work. So in foundation, this is where you have seen some success, and you mentioned that we can also buy your NFTs on Hackl as well. So in terms of the different platforms, right? Obviously, there are pros and cons. OpenSea is another one that is pretty popular. So what are your decision making? Factors before you decide to list a certain collection on certain marketplace? Do you have like a strategy or even like a pricing strategy on how you price your work as well?
So strategy on like pricing, I started with a really low one. If you see my first work, the listing price, I think it's The War Has Begun. It's like the first drop that I dropped in foundation. I was testing out experimentally because I have no prior um experience in listing on this space. So I just started with testing with like a really 0.25 Ethereum, and Ethereum at that time it hasn't really gone up like now. And I started to, I see how people bid it. There was a bid war for this piece. So I kind of have a sense that, okay, I kind of know that what people are willing to buy, how they value my artwork. So that kind of sets as a reference for my second and my third piece. And for my decision on, I mean, it's more like trial and error because I'm still really new to the crypto space. So I don't really have anyone to guide me like, hey, your work, I think your work worth this price or anything. I just started with a price that I started with 0.25 because I tried to convert it in US dollar. Which I think it's not really a good mindset to start with, but that was how I start with because I was completely new. But second thing is I also look at my friends who shoot similar style photo as I do, and they just start off that in the foundation. I try to take it as a reference and seeing like how digital photography kind of works out in the States, like how much people usually value it. Because even until this moment, digital photography isn't like a mainstream on NFT, comparing to motion design and illustration, and also CryptoPunks. So I just have to constantly observe the market and see how it goes. So that's how I set my price strategy. And for sure, I know there's like better strategy. I'm just constantly testing out and see how it works. And I think it's kind of working great, like the way how I set my price.
So it's
I mean,
definitely very
yeah.
significant, right, in terms of how much your first sale auction close. For one, actually will determine your pricing strategy for your next collection. And how about your repricing strategy, especially when Ethereum are fluctuating so much, right? And like 3.9 now could be 5,000 next week, for example. So do you like also handle all this price setting part and actually monitors the fluctuations and adjust accordingly?
I think this is a really great question because I've been on Clubhouse and no one really ever, at least the room that I've been on, no one really mentioned this. And I think this has been a really this has been a question that every artist, I mean, at least for my friends that who is in the space, have constantly asked themselves because of the lately how Ethereum just goes up unpredictably, at least to me, like fluctuates. It just boosts up. Yeah, actually, at first, actually readjust my price because I was trying to be considerate for the collectors. I was like, maybe Ethereum rise. I mean, I'm trying to get on my feet in like the collectors. I was like, maybe it really affects their appetite in collecting stuff because who doesn't want to hold it if it's gonna rise. So I was like, yeah, maybe I should adjust a bit because it rises crazily. It rised crazily. So I actually dropped my price twice for my newest three pieces. But then now it's over 4,000. I thought 4,000 is already really, unpredictable, but it even goes up. And like you mentioned, who knows? It could be next week, it could be 5,000. So for me, I kind of changed my mindset in a way that I could never keep changing my piece just, when it rise, I have to just because like when Ethereum rise, I just have to lower my artwork. And what am I gonna do when it's gonna rise up into 10,000? I mean, it's gonna be good news for all of us, but am I gonna lower it until 0.1? I mean, that's kind of extreme, and that's not how I value my stuff. No, like no matter how crazy Ethereum rises or drops, I don't I don't value my work less than 0.5 at least for my recent free pieces because of time that I've invested in. So I stopped it readjusting my price. I just told myself like, yeah, that's it. Like I cannot really you never know how the trend's gonna be. And I've been looking on those um Twitter tweets from more like a DeFi account, and they are more like promoting the mindset of seeing Ethereum as Ethereum and Ethereum not trying to always think Ethereum in US dollar. And I'm trying to find a sweet spot in between, considering like Ethereum not overlooking constantly being sensitive about how it converts to US dollar and stuff like that. And yeah, now I just stop readjusting the price. I just let it sit there. So
I think that's also
basically,
the conundrum or the dilemma that artists like you will face, right? Because obviously, your pricing, strategy is geared towards general collectors, not the whales who are, definitely, in possession of like tons of ETHs, in their wallet. So for them, one ETH is one ETH, no matter what the fiat value is, right? So as an artist, you can't really fuss over like how 0.3 ETH, reserve price for your art. Whether that will alienate your would-be collectors if 4K becomes 5K for Ethereum next week. So, and because these are the jobs of valuers in the past, and an artist's work is not to monitor pricing or monitor fluctuations in the market, especially in cryptocurrency. So it becomes like an added hat that you have to wear as an artist, because NFT, the nature of how the market works as well, means that you remove the middleman, but that also means more responsibility and more things that you have to monitor now on your part. Yeah.
yeah.
How does it feel like, as an artist, to have your work valued in this way?
I think it feels awesome to me. Like one add on why I stopped readjusting my price is because it takes gas fee to readjust my price, even if it's not as crazy as to mint and to list a new piece. But still, if I have to that's also one consideration why I decided to give up on or like more or less like swapping my mindset on adjusting the price according to the Ethereum. And for how I feel about having a new opportunity for people to support me and getting into space, how does it feel? I think it's amazing actually. It's like totally amazing. Not because not because of how it helps me being like an independent artist, as a newer like one more way of financial income, but more or less it's because I feel like people are constant more okay. So in the past, before NFT happens, I try to get in traditional galleries. I wish to have my work exhibited in there. That's like my goal because I think it's amazing. And even it could be nonprofit, which I actually held a nonprofit exhibition in Hong Kong before, 3 years ago, I think. But I still wanted to get in, galleries. That it's great because galleries is a place that they filter out the great works that in their standard, and it's like a collage of different various artists. It's really great because when people wanted to really get a physical art, quality physical art, they go to the gallery. I mean, if people, I do have an independent nonprofit exhibition. I think it's great, but mostly people who came to the exhibition is people who knew me ahead. So it's two different things. But in traditional galleries, at least in Hong Kong, and at least for those I've applied, they tend to be very exclusive. So it's always those power of people, and it's about the connections and stuff. Sadly saying, but that's the fact. And I know I know I have friends who is like a photographer in Korea, and he also agrees with it. And I think that's mostly how traditional art houses. They're more like a close community, close circle. It's really hard to get in there. It's not like purely considering how your art, how good it is. It's beyond that. It's also considering your fame, your connections about it, and your relations between the owner of the art gallery and stuff like that, which is completely different from NFT. And I think as I've mentioned, I think it's awesome that how I feel to get in the space because people don't care about those. Art is just art in this space. If your art is beautiful, they like it, they place a bid. They don't care about like if you are like a great friend of the owner of the gallery for like 5 years, or you constantly go to their um launch launch party of their new gallery opening and those stuff. I think those stuff are important because it's always great to make connections with people who is in this whole creative circle. But more or less, it's like the way how they value your work. It's really just, at least from my experience in the NFT space, is my audience just value my work as in how they feel it is, how much they like. It's not like solely on my followers, solely on my past achievements, on how I market my stuff. And I think this is amazing because a lot of artists, mostly what they do, we are not like all businessmen. Of course, I know there's artists out there is good marketers as well, and I think it's a really good skill set they have, especially when it comes to NFT because you don't have a middleman. And but mostly artists is like if they just focus on grinding on working their new arts, experiencing new things, getting inspired. So I think it's a disadvantage for artists who has been like fully focusing on creating because they're missing that marketing skill set, the business skill set, the connection things, at least not really having the time, to do that unless you are like working on a firm, then there's like marketing teams to do it for you, or you're hiring an assistant to do it for you. But for independent artists like us, it's weak. Like honestly saying, it's weak to like get involved in traditional art house. NFT is amazing because it's just focusing on how your art quality is. It's just
This leads
pushing
to
those
the
other things away.
Yeah, it leads to our last question of the day for you. Do you think that, or why do you think it's a traditional artist should mint NFTs?
Like why, like what I would persuade, or like why, in what sort of way I
Why do you
recommend.
think that a traditional artist should mint NFTs?
I think they should mean it because an artist is a creator in general, and a creator is always trying to, be the pioneer and trying to test trials and errors and to create new things somewhere out of nowhere. And I think it doesn't only limit to art, but also to open opportunities and to adapt it to stuff. And if getting an NFT space could get their stuff to more people, why not? Because I think every artist who is actually having the heart to create, they would always want to have people to look at their art. Not all of us hope every single person see our art, beat and plays a beat and buy our stuff. But I believe every artist, you spend those times editing, taking photos, and the hard work in between, in behind, you will always want people to see it. And ever NFT space, the hype that how the auction that people made, it actually gets the attention from my friends who never care about art. Like they started to get like search in like what NFT is, what art is. And I think it's great for traditional artists to get into the space because they could expand their audience. And I mean, like, why not? Because in the past, if they only promote in social medias or like in art galleries or in traditional pathways, it's just the same audience in the whole time. But now there's people that who never care about art in the past or doesn't know much about art in the past. They jump into this circle and try to understand what crypto art is and also what NFT is. And traditional artists could benefit from it because they could approach people who is not involved in creative path in the past, but more maybe like regular people who is working in banking, regular people who is like working in science, and because people who invest in NFT come from different backgrounds. So I think it's great to expand your audience by it. And it's great because there's no middleman to get the money commission from it. When you sell the NFTs, there's platform that only charge a little bit, which is a lot better than when you sell a physical print in traditional art house, because usually it's 6:4, the ratio. And I think it's great because artists can get more than what they deserve because there's more options right now. So yeah.
Very well said, Rachel Lam. And we thank you so much for agreeing to do this podcast with us. So I look forward to jamming with you on more NFT topics in the near future and have you back on our festival again. So please take care of yourself over there. And we hope to see you really, really soon. So any last words for or message for our listeners who are replaying this on a podcast on your AirPods or smart speakers later on?
I just hope they enjoyed what I was sharing, and just feel free to check my work. And have a nice day to every of the people who listen to the podcast, and also you. Thank you for the opportunity. And yeah,
thank you
not
so
good
much.
at words, but yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Just that simple.
That's really lovely. It's a joy talking to you. Take care, my friend. I'll see you very soon. Bye.
Bye.
Jonas, sorry
Hey,
to keep
Wayne.
you waiting. How are you, my friend?
No problem, man. I'm very good. What about yourself?
I'm feeling fantastic. After a short nap, I'm raring to go and continue to spotlight great artists like you. I know that you have a great story and something that's related to one of my favorite places on earth, which is New York's Times Square, right? So before we dive in with questions and let you take over and talk to us about, your story for the next 15 minutes, I know that recently your dream came true. You were able to share your art with the world, and your artwork was featured on Times Square. Never stop dreaming. Tell us about, your story. We would love to hear how you got started, how the journey has been so far, which actually, brought us back to this day and age where your art is seen in Times Square. How amazing is that?
Thank you so much, Wayne. Thank you. No, back in the day, I was doing photography school in my hometown Antwerp in Belgium. And after I finished photography school, I started to assist other fashion photographers And then after assisting other fashion photographers, I started to work in advertising and fashion photography. But then after a while, always working for other art directors, I want to create my own stuff. I had more creative feelings, and I wanted to work on different concepts. So then in 2012, I shot my first art piece called titled La Renaissance. And from there on, it inspired me to create my own specific style. In doing that, I started to work on my first pieces in Antwerp, in Belgium, and I started to be represented by galleries in Europe. I worked with galleries in Belgium, but also in Netherlands, in Germany. Then I worked with a gallery in London, but I still felt that Antwerp was a little bit too small for my ambitions. So then, about 4 years ago, I moved to New York City, where since then I worked with galleries in New York, but also expanded to galleries in Los Angeles, in Texas, in Chicago, in Miami, and started to participate on all the art shows. And Cube Art Fair was one of these art shows. I participated in Art New York with them. I participated at Scope in Miami with them, and in Brussels. But then now during the pandemic, of course, all the physical art fairs were cancelled. So then he came up with the concept of having a public art fair on the billboards. So that's where I got involved and had my art displayed together with other artists on Times Square, but also on 100 billboards strategically placed all over Manhattan.
This is brilliant, and I'm admiring this art of yours being featured high up on the digital signage. And I remember I was in Times Square exactly a year ago, maybe to this day, right? And just admiring all these billboards, and it's normally like a product advertisements or movie trailers which are being played. And I was thinking at the time, how I wish like some of the great art by digital artists like you, right, could be displayed up there. And a year later, you make that dream come true for a lot of artists as well as fans of art. How amazing is that? And how did you actually get involved in this particular project? And do you plan on doing more? Such a unique installations, or should I say, showcases of your art pieces in even more cities around the world? How about like first stop Singapore?
Yeah, that would be amazing. Actually, Singapore is on my bucket list just to visit. I never been in Singapore, so if we could make that happen, that would be great. No, except from of course, it's nice that many eyeballs see your work, but it's also nice for me to bring art to a wider audience. Because a gallery, as you know, sometimes it can be not everybody feels free to walk in a gallery or is comfortable to walk in a gallery. It's like a very sterile environment. Not everybody feels comfortable doing that. And I think in showing the art in a public place, it's also a way to democratize my art and to bring it to a wider audience. So everybody can enjoy it, and you don't need to buy. You can just enjoy it, because for me, other than making sales, it's also important just to inspire people, just people to interact with my art, as long as they enjoy it. So I think this format is ideal to share, so everybody can be a part of it.
This is fantastic. And we want to look at maybe open up your maker space, which is where you drop your NFTs collection as well, right? So maybe walk us through what we are looking at next. And this is basically some pieces that you have created. These are what you call the rare digital art makers place. And of course, your collection called Dance of Eternity, Gold, White, and Eternity 360. Walk us through this. What is the story or narrative behind these three collections?
Yeah, actually, how it came about was a funny way, because I never heard about NFTs or about this whole space. But when I was talking to people, more and more people said you should try this digital art, this digital art. But I mean, a lot of art is digital art. You also have digital photography. You have 3D rendering. So I was not really aware what digital art was. I thought people were speaking more about. I thought it was like you have the augmented reality or something. And then I started to look into it, and I got on the app Clubhouse, and there actually I learned about the NFTs. And the funny thing is, in the same time, I was busy developing a sculpture. That's what you see here, starting from a 3D rendering. But I never saw it as a digital piece, because how it started was for a foundry, because we're going to make the same physical sculpture in solid bronze, completely polished. So it originated as a physical piece, but then I started to learn about the NFT space, and then I thought, like, okay, I have this digital renderings. Let's bring them to life digitally first. But I never could have imagined that this piece, Dance of Eternity, would have a digital life before it had a physical life. Because now it's interesting. It's the other way around, but it was never meant this way. So it's very interesting, and what it means is the skull, they represent death or the end of something. And actually, the butterflies is a new beginning. It's a sign of new life. You have the fragility of the butterfly. It's fragile. It's new life. And then the spines, you have the heart shape is the universal sign of love. It stands for the continuity of the energy, where something ends, something new begins. So it's for me, it's a very symbolic piece.
Do you think that when this NFT sales fever, right, is over, you're gonna keep going down this NFT rabbit hole? Is there a future for you doing art as just simply digital collectibles?
I will keep on doing my physical stuff anyway, and the thing is that I believe if it's a hype and the hype dies, that the cream will rise to the top. Of course, everybody is now making NFTs, and I see some people bringing out 5, 6 NFTs per week or every day, and of course that can lead to an oversaturation. But I always believe in the quality, and if you bring well thought out concepts and your concepts are well layered, that people will feel that. And I think in the end, this kind of artists will thrive, whether it's digital artists or photographers or 3D artists. For me, they all create art. And what I want to get out of the way is the differentiation between the media, because now everybody is like, okay, that's a physical artist, that's a digital artist, he does an NFT. But for me, it's about the message. I think I want to use the platform that brings my message across in the best possible way, whether that's a digital piece, whether that's a physical piece, whether that's a combination. I think we need to break free from the media, not see it as separate entities, but just see it as the inspiration from the artist, whatever media he chooses to do. And what I'm interested in is the term physical art, so the physical and the digital together, phygital, and that's where I want to see where is the crossover between a physical piece and a digital piece, and how could they interact. And in that way, I want to bring immersive experiences to the public, also with physical launches. So let's say you have an object that's a photograph, a physical piece, but then you have a digital piece on a screen together with the sculpture in the physical piece. What happens when the two are in one space? How they gonna interact, and even more satisfy your senses by bringing a more immersive experience. That's where I'm looking into.
I'm looking at your website, Leriche.be. Hopefully, I pronounced your name correctly. There's so many skulls, especially butterflies as well. I noticed that's the common running theme in your work. So, why these two objects? Any particular reason or story behind that?
Yeah, I think it's just very symbolic, a skull, because we all have one, but it's also it reminds us that life is not forever. So we need to grasp the opportunity and we need to seize the moment. It reminds us that all this has an end. So I think now we need to live more in the now and not in the past, not in the future. I think this reminds me. And butterflies is just symbol for new hope. It's something very positive. It reminds me that you always can start over. Now, also after the pandemic, I mean, it's like a new beginning, and I see also a lot of positivity in it. And I like to look for the contrast, and it's very contrasting when we have the skull and the butterfly together. And I think that people can connect with it, whether it's conscious or unconscious. I think that's for me is very strong meaning.
And I think you coined that term or popularized it by calling it sculptures, right? So
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
really something that resonates really well. I think it's genius marketing as well. But of course, it's backed by really great art that you have created right there. Everything seems so on point, and I think collectors, they love collecting things which are rare, but also with a storyline. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I agree a lot because people will feel it's more layered because they will feel a deeper connection. And if it's not in the work, I believe that it's difficult to feel it and to connect with the work. Even if you don't explain the concept, I think there still has to be a connection between the artwork and the collector. And I feel all the layers and all the textures, and if you delve deeper, you can find all this meaning. I think that's what's connecting to them.
How do you price your NFTs? This is a question that's really hot right now in Clubhouse, especially where, all the NFT artists are congregated, right? Like, do you sell at a fixed price and let the secondary market determine how much residual income, from the resale part of it? Do you like set it and forget it, or do you have another kind of strategy to share?
For me, honestly, because I released my first pieces, I'm still experimenting. So I'm in the experimental phase. But it's a good question, and for me, a difficult point because you have to know that in the physical space, I'm doing this for 15 years now. I did a lot of art fairs, I did a lot of exhibitions. So I build already a certain price point. And then you come into an NFT space where you're new, but you also don't want to devaluate my artwork that's in the physical space. So it's difficult to go in too cheap because I also don't want to upset the collectors who buy my physical pieces. So, and the other way around, I also don't want to go in too high because in the NFT space, I'm fairly new and I'm still building on the community there. So I just put a price for what I think it's worth. And the first day I sold a few, but mainly because of collectors that knew me already were waiting to buy. So that's some physical collectors who bought some pieces. But then now it calmed a bit down because I still need to build a digital community. But I leave them at the same price because I know I'm working at that digital community. And in the next weeks, I will have some launches on super rare as well. So then maybe it's the moment where the people who discover my work then go back and find the nuggets that were still there from the first launch. So I just leave them at that price point. And as I said, I'm not impatient because I built something with my other pieces, so I'm not depending on it. I invest in it because I think it's interesting and it's another way, again, to get my artwork to more people, to have a wider reach, hopefully to inspire more people. And that's for me enough for the moment. For the rest, we will see what the future of NFT will bring.
You've obviously seen, a lot of action and having your art showcase at Times Square as well. Do you consider that as one of the most successful thing you've done in terms of marketing your work so far?
Yeah, I think so. So before I was like a typical creator, a typical artist, just busy with creating, not busy with marketing, not busy with promotion. But then you learn that it's really 50% of the job, and I always avoid it. But now I start to get a little bit better in it. I'm no marketing expert, but I try to learn every day. And as I get some marketing successes, I start to enjoy it more, honestly. Like now with the Times Square, I was on the news in the Belgian national television. I was in the newspapers in Belgium. I had a lot of reactions. I had this interview. I have other interviews planned. I have written interviews. So basically now I see the benefits. So now it will be easier for me to do it. I wouldn't say I'm a natural marketer, but it gets easier like everything we practice, I think. So yeah,
This is
definitely.
fantastic. And yeah, another great example of a ever evolving artist, right? Who is always learning and graduating to the next level and then the next level. And now you could put on that marketing hat as one of the many hats that you wear as well, right? So, what do you think it's actually missing from the ecosystem right now? Because the NFT space is completely new, right? Many things like in terms of like even like sharing splits for collaboration work, a lot of these features are not there or available even in very popular marketplaces at this present. So what do you want to see built in this ecosystem?
What I kind of miss in that ecosystem is really but it's coming with the metaverses, is really to build a more immersive experience on the platform. So rather than just the NFTs that are visible, I like to build a really immersive room where walking around could trigger all kind of experiences, so you're even more immersed into the art. Like for example, with my sculpture, let's say the Dance of Eternity with the butterflies. Let's say you walk in a dark room, and in the middle is the sculpture. But as soon as you pass by, the butterflies start to walk around, and you can see them, and they land on the sculpture, and the sculpture turns around, and that kind of yeah, it's basically a bit like we could see in a high-end video game. I think it would be cool if we come to the point where we can be in this kind of immersive experiences to really um, experience the art on an even deeper level. But I'm sure that that's all coming at some point. So
Right on. I think it's you nailed it on the head when it comes to the metaverse, right? The more immersive experience, like even digital artists, even podcasters like me, right? We definitely want to create an even better immersive experience, and the metaverse, where everything's converging, all this AR, VR, and of course all these means for us to actually bring this consistent, physical experience to the virtual world. This is what we all aspire to go there, as soon as possible, even though we're already now in the metaverse world, but we're not exactly there yet. So it's great that you've been sharing, so much of your insights and perspectives as well. Before we let you go, let's do a really quick rapid fire round. I just want to maybe tell you the rules. You must give really short and pithy response, maybe one sentence or two maximum. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go. What are your proudest live moments?
Marrying my beautiful wife, having an exhibition on Times Square, and having my first solo exhibition in New York.
What do you want doing less of in 2021?
Sales. I want to sell more, but I want to do less sales related stuff.
What do you want doing more of in 2021?
Creating photo shoots.
What's your advice for NFT artists out there?
Find your own thing, and don't be discouraged if you don't sell immediately. Just believe in yourself and keep on creating.
In a nutshell, don't be obsessed with numbers, right? Well,
Yeah.
any future ambitions or side projects?
My ambition of side project is bringing the digital and the physical into public immersive experiences all over the world and in Singapore now.
How can people reach you?
people can go to my Instagram, that's at Jonas Leriche, or they can visit my website in the link leriche.be.
This is brilliant, my friend, and it's great to having you on this festival and doing this live taping for a podcast replay later on. So I really look forward to have you back on in the future and maybe update us on your future NFT drops, as well as your other installations and exhibitions around the world, and hopefully right here in Asia, right here in Singapore in the future. So I look forward to meeting you in real life as well. So
Absolutely.
For our listeners in Asia.
Keep creating, keep on dreaming, and never give up.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I'll see you very, very soon. You take care.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me on the show. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jonas. Jonas Leriche. So check out his website. I think the banner is right here. Hopefully I'm pointing the right direction. Yeah. So yeah, my next guest, Cathy Hackl. She's someone that I've been trying to get on our podcast for quite some time now, but finally she's here. I'm super excited. How are you, my friend, Cathy? How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm actually on vacation in Costa Rica. So, happy to just be joining you for a couple minutes and yeah, just thank you for, insisting to have me come on. I really like what you're doing.
And I'm a big fan of yours. I watch all your LinkedIn live streams. So you inspire me in many ways. Even this festival is, in some ways, is put up together because of watching you consistently, put out great content on LinkedIn. So you inspire us back in many, many ways. So let's go right into the first question. We know that you have a really interesting title, Chief Metaverse Officer. So I think you are singularly responsible for coining that title or that role or this term, in this day and age, which is so right. So tell us more about this role and what do you do? What's the day in the life as a Chief Metaverse Officer?
So it's interesting because I've been in virtual reality and augmented reality for the past 6 years, working deeply with companies like HTC Vive, which just released some new devices. Then went on to work at Magic Leap, which if you're interested in the metaverse and all these, probably come around their name. Then went to AWS and then eventually decided to launch on my own. And I'm a tech futurist / Chief Metaverse Officer, just because most of my work right now is metaverse related. So yeah, every day is different, to be honest, Wayne. Every single day is different. I would say the common thread across every single day is I'm having conversations about the metaverse, both with companies that are interested in, brands that are interested in launching something or understanding the metaverse, or, advising startups that, that hire me to kind of help them, because they're launching something that is metaverse related. So every day is different, to be honest.
Chief Metaverse Officer, in short, is called CMO, right? And in the world of marketing, CMO is Chief Marketing Officer. I do have another podcast called CMO Asia Podcast, where I interview Asian CMO. So I think that the next level CMO will be someone who is a Chief Metaverse Officer like you. So tell us, what does this role entails? What kind of knowledge, experience, skill set you think a CMO, a new CMO,
yeah,
in terms of really nailing this?
Yeah, I think they need to be a mix of understanding the marketing and comm side and the business side, but also understanding the tech side. I think that those are very important. And understanding the tech side, I don't mean that they need to be developers per se, but they need to understand how this tech is created, how the different underlying technologies like AR and VR, et cetera, are how they work, how they're deployed. So yeah, I think they need an understanding. And most importantly, Wayne, I would say they need to have a vision of the future. And they need to understand that, we can't really define the metaverse by thinking about the current state of the world. We need to think about what the metaverse is and where it takes us, right? So I think that that'll be really important, is kind of changing the mindset. Chief Metaverse Officers, it's going to be about knowledge, but it's also going to be about mindset.
This is brilliant. And of course, there's so many definitions of the metaverse, right? And I think you wrote a really excellent article where you bring so many experts to come in and chime in on the definition of this really hot term called metaverse. Give us a breakdown on the term and what it means. And I've been also thinking a lot like you about it. And in my opinion as well, no one owns that term, right? And we are still working on a language to describe what it is. So what's your definition?
Yeah, so I feel very strongly that not one person should define it or not one company, and no one should own the term. So one of the reasons I wanted to do the article was to kind of bring together different voices. So I posted on LinkedIn and I said, hey, I'm working on an article for Forbes about the metaverse. What does it mean? How do you define it? And, there's over 110 comments. I recommend people go check it out because it's quite interesting. I couldn't publish all the comments, right? But I grabbed about 20 of them to try to, make sense and kind of share this, share a spectrum of people saying it's Ready Player One to people saying, no, it's different, right? So, how do I define it? I'm still working on how I define it. What I tell people is it's a convergence of the physical and the digital. I really like what Kevin Kelly says when he says it's when the world becomes machine readable. And that world could be a virtual world that is fully virtual, wholly virtualized, or it could be our real world with digital information on top of it. Those layers that we talk about when we talk about, the magic, the metaverse. So yeah, I think it's going to be this convergence. I think it impacts society, it impacts business, it changes the way we as humans interact with our physical world, because it adds those virtual elements. And also if that world that we are engaging with is virtual, it changes that as well. So it's really a convergence of sorts of all these technologies. And I mean, we're all building it right now. So it's hard to define what it is. I think that, it's almost like we need new lexicon. We need new words to be able to describe what it is that we're building.
Another new word that you brought to my attention is meta-humans, right? I think it's something that you brought up during our last live stream on LinkedIn. What exactly is a meta-human? And break it down for us as well.
Yeah, so meta-human is really a term that Epic Games is using. They've got something called the Unreal Engine. So right now, if you're designing video games, you're mostly the two most biggest engines, I would say, are Unity and Unreal, right? And Unreal is also used a lot for virtual production. So they have something called metahumans, which are these virtual beings. They're virtual versions of humans. They're not real people that you can actually create. You can do a lot of things with them if you get access to the beta. So it's these virtual beings that you kind of engage with. So think, obviously it's not, the embodiment of Alexa. And I'm sorry if I woke her up, if anyone has her. It's not the embodiment of of someone's virtual assistant. But think about it in that way. It's like how it's going to embody, potentially, chatbots or customer service or friends or, different types of things. It might be how we embody gadgets in the future.
So is it the same as a digital twin, or are they completely different things?
Well, no, because metahumans are not a copy of anyone per se, because you can modify them, you can change them. A digital twin is a copy of something that already exists, right? So you can have a digital twin of the factory floor, of the manufacturing floor. You can have a digital twin of yourself. You can have a digital twin of your house. But it's normally like if you're doing a digital twin of your house, you would grab something and scan your house. You would be scanning a real life asset, right, to create that digital asset. Same thing, if you're doing a volumetric video of someone, you capture them, right? You do a whole scan of them. So it's a digital twin of them, which is different than a virtual being or a metahuman that is not necessarily, it could be made of, captures and scans of multiple people, but you can modify them. They're not real people that exist in the real world. So they're virtual. I'm not going to say they're not real people. They're virtual people that exist in a virtual world.
Got it. And a meta-human version of what would your meta-human version look like?
I don't know. I'm working right now on creating kind of my AI Cathy. So like my digital clone, my digital twin of sorts. So I don't know. I would have to sit down and design a meta-human, and I don't know what it would see. I would see it as separate things. There's like my AI Cathy or my digital Cathy. And then the metahumans, which I could drive, but I wouldn't necessarily want the metahuman to look like me.
That's a great suggestion. I think mine would look quite similar to that as well. Just one last segment before we let you go, because you only have 15 minutes with you. We're going to move on to a rapid fire questions momentarily. This is a good way to speed things up. Here are the rules. You must give me a really short and pithy response, or a sentence or two maximum. So are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go. What are your proudest life moments?
My 3 children, I would say.
What do you want doing less of in 2021?
I want to I want to stay home less. I want to travel more.
More vacations, yeah, like the one you're having right now.
Yes.
What do you want
Yes.
to do more of in 2021?
I definitely want to do more travel, vacation wise. But I want to create more. I want to write more. I want to, I'm hopefully getting an international book deal pretty soon. Things are about to explode for me, and I'm really excited. So more of that.
To connect this to our NFT theme festival, so this next question is for that. What's your advice for NFT artists?
I would say be patient, keep trying, and just be patient and just be creative and keep pushing the envelope. I would say it's keep pushing the envelope.
Any future ambitions or side projects?
My goodness, I have so many projects right now that are metaverse related. You have no idea. I mean, it's crazy the stuff that's coming down the line. And yeah, I can't really share it. All I'm saying is the future is amazing. And I'll see you in the metaverse. It's just things are accelerating so quickly. It's incredible fun. And I feel very fortunate to be able to work with a lot of brands that are entering the space.
How can people reach you?
Best place to find me is LinkedIn, like you said. That's where I spend most of my time on social media, sharing, important, I think useful content and insights. So yeah, that's the best place to find me.
This is brilliant. Thank you so much, Cathy, for agreeing to do this. And I look forward to have you back on our festival in the future, maybe in the metaverse, right? I'm hoping to actually bring this festival in a virtual gallery or virtual space where we can do it, with our VR and AR goggles as well. I think that would be another immersive experience and make this festival more enlivened and more vibrant and energetic, yeah?
That'd be brilliant. Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Have a nice vacation. Bye-bye. So that's Cathy Hackl, Chief Metaverse Officer. Do check out her live streams on LinkedIn. And with that, I'm going to take 1 hour break. I'll be back with 8 more guests all the way till 11 a.m., I think. So it's going to be a long process for me ahead of me. I'm going to just take a 1 hour quick break, and I'll be back. I'll see you guys later on. Goodbye.